everyone, to another episode of Circle City Conversations, the podcast where we highlight the people, stories, and ideas shaping our community here in Indianapolis. I am your host, Alex Limontes. This episode is brought to you by Hurst Limontes, an Indiana personal injury law firm dedicated to helping people and families in their most difficult moments. Today, I'm very excited to be here with, and we were just talking about this, a friend that I've known for 20 years now.
That's right.
20 years. My friend, attorney Vanessa Lopez, a passionate advocate and a trailblazer in the legal field and a voice for justice in our community. Vanessa, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So we usually start pretty easy here. We just talk to people a little bit about where they're from and where they grew up and what brought them here to Indiana.
Absolutely. So I have lived in Indianapolis since 2000. I came here for law school. Prior to that, I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I lived there until I was 8 years old. My mom came to Bloomington to work on her master's and then did her PhD. And I went to Bloomington South High School, got my undergrad in Bloomington, and then came here to Indy for law school. Oh. And my dad's Colombian, so I spent all my summers in South America in Colombia with my grandparents. And I consider myself a Latina Hoosier since I've been here since I was 8 and made this my home. Lived in the northwest side of Indianapolis for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had my daughter here and going to school. She's a freshman now in high school. So that's just a little bit about my background. I am bilingual.
Yeah.
English is my second language. So what brought me here to Indiana was my mom pursuing her education. And then she ended up going to Wisconsin, and she did a postdoctorate, which most people don't do a postdoctorate.
Right.
And she was with a dean for advising pre-med and pre-law, and was the one that really pushed me to go to law school. So that's how I honestly thought that being a lawyer was not something that was for Latinas, for female Hispanic women. I didn't see anybody that looked like me. I didn't see people that look like me very much when I went to law school. I'm happy to hear that there's more of us now.
Oh, yeah.
But we're still need to grow those numbers.
Absolutely. So the Hispanic Law Society at the law school, they're winning awards now for their participation.
So wonderful.
Isn't that amazing?
Us putting that together and spearheading that. And back then, so long ago, we would work with the migrant farm workers.
Correct.
So I did an internship with Indiana Legal Services, and I spent a summer going out to the migrant farm worker camps. And I was so impressed, not in a positive way, on how their conditions were.
Yep.
So what we did for the Hispanic Law Society is we would just do fundraising for them, and we would do bake sales and whatever we could do and raise canned items and take them over to the churches in the areas that they were working. Because at that time, I hope it's changed, but maybe not, considering our climate right now. Back then, if you recall, when there would be a food pantry, that community would say, well, this is the food pantry for us. This is a food pantry for them. And so we took the responsibility of trying to fill up this pantry. This one specifically was in Kokomo. And we obviously we were a small group. I think there was probably maybe 6 of us. And we did what we could, but I'm glad to hear that they are, and I see that they're hosting events and they're being really involved. And at that time, we also worked a lot with BALSA, the Black Law Student Association. And we even did a trip to D.C., I remember, one year. So I'm glad that those organizations are strong and moving. Need it.
I love the migrant farm worker aspect because I think that it is so undervalued, the importance of that resource, right, in our economy here in Indiana, a farming economy.
Yeah,
right?
it absolutely. And it is so hard to see what's happening now, when, we've had years of so much support from Latino community in every facet you can imagine, from agriculture to economic development and all of their contributions to the state of Indiana. And it's going to really affect it economically, because they're like, they're buying homes in the community, fixing them up in areas that we're not, people don't necessarily want to live in, and investing in the communities, and spending time in their churches. And but by going back to the migrant farm workers, the long days and that work that we know that not everybody wants to do is now not being done. So I'm very curious to see how the farmers are doing when you don't have that labor force. And then now I believe there's going to be a fee of like $100,000 if you want to bring in some H1, I don't do immigration, but H1B1, whatever so I'm not sure how that's going to help our Indiana farmers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually those costs are going to get passed on to us, the consumer, right? Yeah. And so you don't do migrant farm worker law. But
yeah, I don't. I do. I find it very interesting because it's surprising to me that we have a federal statute, the Agriculture Workers Protection Act, that allows 11-year-olds to be on the field. So it'd be nice if the powers that be recognized, the one exploitation. But no, I get to do the joy of family law.
I would migrant farm work is more immigration. It's immigration work, but there's a lot of overlap between family law and immigration law, right?
Absolutely. So I'm approached by immigration lawyers to do a lot of guardianships.
Right.
So unfortunately, we have a lot of minors that cross, and I can't imagine what they've gone through and seen. There was, if I may just share a story, I had a 12-year-old come into my office who had crossed, I believe, from Honduras or Guatemala, and had done it alone. And it took him probably 3 months to get here from his home country. But really bad things happened to him on that journey. And his father had been murdered by a gang member. The gang showed up at his school, and the teacher hid him in a trash can. And so he was able to just get some clothes and leave. I mean, there's no way he could stay and live.
Right.
And these are the conditions that a lot of people are going through with the gang violence, especially in Honduras and in Guatemala and some other countries. But this boy came to me, and I don't practice immigration law, so referred him to friends that do. And then what we do is a guardianship. So maybe he was here because of an uncle or an aunt or a cousin or grandma, whoever. And we'll do a guardianship to assist that person who's here.
Yep.
Obtain a guardianship for the legal rights, custody and care and control of that minor. That guardianship then is taken by the immigration lawyer, and they do their thing in immigration court.
Yeah.
So that's perspective that I see. And then we do a little bit of adoptions, but mostly when I'm involved with anything with immigration, it's usually through a guardianship.
Yeah.
And then if I ever need to consult immigration attorneys because I'm doing a divorce, where my client maybe was a dependent, so their status was here because of their, I'll just say husband. And then if we're going to be more stereotypical, perhaps there was domestic violence. And so then I need to talk to them about getting a VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women's Act, that allows you then to self-petition if you were dependent on someone else. And there may be a U visa if there's, a criminal case pending and you're going to work with the prosecutor. So I know enough to be a little bit dangerous, but I don't, it just changes so much with your administration, depending who's in power.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of changes all the time.
Right.
So
family law is tough. I think she's the first family lawyer we've had on, right? I think so. Yeah. So, and
get the tissues.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, but you guys have to be tough. It's a lot of, it's a lot of hand holding.
It is. I mean, we feel like we're doing mental health work without having the degree. So I always have to let them know I'm not a mental health professional. If you have a good enough rapport with your clients, you're saying, you need to pay a mental health provider, which is going to be half my legal fees an hour. So, and they're going to know exactly how to help you. But I can maneuver. I've been doing this for 20 years, so we kind of know it's a lot of the cases. Obviously, to them, it's the worst thing that's happened to them, but they're very repetitive. Like this is the same scenario that I've seen 10 times that week. Unfortunately. So there's a lot of folks that are getting divorced because of economic reasons. You still have adultery, even though Indiana's a no-fault state, so that doesn't come in play. But you do still have those same concepts of why people are getting divorced. And I would say financial reasons is the way up there than an adultery.
Like financial, like they're not making enough money.
Right. Resentment of one person always doing all the work, trying to keep up off the bills, the other person living off of them. We saw for COVID, at least in my practice, we saw a lot more women employed than men during COVID, and they were still running the household and take care of the kids and doing Zoom classrooms and working. I think that there was probably a little bit of, I'm done, I'm tired of having to do all that. I did see a lot more women file for divorce. I just kind of put those together. I don't know if that actually was the case, but it seemed like that was what, there was some really major frustration of all the responsibilities, at least the client base that was coming in to see me.
Yeah. And you're a certified mediator.
Yes, I've been mediating for about 20 years. I am civil and domestic.
Okay.
So I don't get to do a whole lot of civil work. So, and just like in family law, people get very comfortable with who they use. So right around COVID, I wanted to make a push to start doing civil mediations, just because there's so many Latino-owned businesses or so many different areas that you would want a bilingual mediator.
Correct.
But then we got so busy that I couldn't take the time to really perfect that and get that message out there. I hope to go back and be able to do that, because I think it would be really nice for these individuals and businesses to be able to do that in their own native tongue. And plus, the culture, you understand things by, being bilingual. And so much can get lost in translation. Also trained as an arbitrator, but in family law, we don't do that very much. I'm a guardian ad litem and a parenting coordinator.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
And in family law, you don't try jury trials, right?
Right. Well, you can, but we don't.
How would you get one? Like,
we request it. Yeah,
and
no one does. I think there was one pro se person, and the judge was like, "Do you really want to? You probably want to think about that." That no, I've never in my career had to do that.
Yeah.
I think there was one case back when Judge Gooden was in paternity court, and I think whatever reason I had withdrawn, but lucky that I think that's just a whole nother. I think that's when you start to be risking that either no fault.
Yeah,
because people are maybe resentful to that individual if husband cheated, and or in paternity cases. So I just think it's very tricky.
Yeah.
You just need to. I think we have the judge or an arbitrator.
Right.
And arbitration, I think, should be more. We should use it more, because at least in Marion County, your court dates can be really far out.
So you can get a resolution to your marital issue, and you could, at an arbitration, you could go in there and be like, we're disagreeing over who gets the mileage,
It's just be hearing one issue.
Yeah, the car, who gets grandpa's car or something.
And that alleviates the congestion in the courts. And I know they're working really hard to try to alleviate that congestion by not setting full day trials unless I really know you need them, because they hog up the docket. So I think our judicial officers are trying really hard. But, when you have and like today, I asked for a final hearing. It's set for the end of December.
Oh,
so, and I've got folks that really need to not be together. So it's just a long time. It's a long time. And we're setting out until winter on other cases. So
yeah, it really, it changes my outlook on our cases. If we get an 18-month trial date 18 months down the road, that's pretty normal.
Right. Absolutely.
But I can't imagine having to still be married to someone that you want to divorce.
And if it's, and I do a lot of fathers' rights. So I have a lot of males who are fighting for custody. And back in the day when I first started, that you just got the guidelines and that was it. You weren't supposed to fight for anything more.
Yep.
And I had a young African-American male who wanted custody of his child. And the other side was like, well, you'll never get this. And I was like, oh, please keep talking to me like that, because then I'm going to be really, really determined to do well. And we did.
Yeah.
And so you had this 23-year-old African-American male who got custody of his kid. And then it just started. It was then someone tells something else and you put it out. And then for a while there, we were doing a lot. And so in the beginning, you got lucky if you got the guidelines. Now it's my expectation, unless there's something wrong, we're at least getting 50-50. And why can't we go for it all?
Yeah.
If the facts fit, of course. So lots of changes. And those are always, I like those cases because now they're not as hard as they used to be to try them, but it's still challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're in other different counties.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marion is more liberalist to that, or more open-minded. But your other counties, as I practice throughout the whole state of Indiana, some counties are still what we say mom-friendly.
Yeah.
So you have to argue a little bit harder, but I enjoy that because I'm a litigator. I like to be in court. I want to resolve it. I want to resolve it, but if we can't resolve it, then game on and let's go. Because I'm not going to encourage my client to just settle. If I rather have the judge tell us no if we can do it. But we don't want to begin with that attitude. We always try to resolve it. Always try to get an agreement. You guys are going to be co-parenting until you have left this earth. I mean, you have funerals, weddings, prom. You're going to have to co-parent. I want to be part of that and help clients learn how to co-parent. But if we can't, then we'll just have the judge decide.
Yeah, absolutely. If I did family law here in Marion County, probably most of those judges would have to recuse themselves.
That happens.
Jason Rayom, I worked with him. Polly. Yeah.
Yeah. I have the judges that have picked. Yes. So, and there were some that were like, well, I hope we don't have to, because we all know how to be professional. I mean, we didn't work together. We just obviously we're the same vintage. We've been around for a long time. Yeah. But I always tell people, if you feel uncomfortable, then we'll get another judge. But and some of the judges went to the criminal bench, so then that alleviated that issue of anything that would be a problem. But
you worked in Marion, because I remember Marion County before they had the family law division. So what has been the biggest change that you've seen since they instituted these courts only do family law cases in Marion County?
I feel like there's more organization.
Yeah.
You, in essence, have one judge to hear everything. We weren't able to perfect it with the protective orders. So that sometimes you have a different judge for your protective order than your divorce or your fraternity case, just because of the timing and needing to be heard quickly.
Yeah.
We really try to get those together so that one judicial officer hears everything, because it's usually going to be pretty repetitive of why you're asking for supervised time for your child and why you need a protective order. So we really try to maximize for judicial economy and have everything heard. I feel like we have, for the most part, a bench that really does care. Yeah. And it's hard not to get burnt out. I mean, we have to understand, you're hearing people, right? If you're in front of the judge, that means that your attorneys couldn't do it and the mediator couldn't do it, probably. And then so you're doing that all day. It's like, kudos to them. And I always tell my judges, is like, we're in this together. Like, I need you to be happy. You need to have mental health days too, because I feel your pain, right? But I feel like we're more organized. Our facility is nice. Oh, yeah. So right. I'm really glad that we didn't have space before. And when we were downtown, you would be on the bench with, all the inmates next door to you. And so we have some niceties now that we didn't before. But yeah, I think we're probably more organized, and there's a rumor we're going to be losing our, we used to call it DRCB, and I always forget the new acronym. And we might be losing that. So that was the place where you could do mental health evaluations and different evaluations. So that will be sad, because we do still have a lot of pro bono individuals that are in litigation, and then also modest means folks. Yeah. So in a lot of our divorces, or what I would call high conflict custody cases, which is what I do, we're doing mental health evals, and those are not necessarily paid by insurance. So then your clients are coming up with like $7,000 to be able to do that. Wow. And then if you want something by like Dr. Ferraro or Bird or anybody like that, you're looking at 20 plus. Though now litigation's different because you've got to have that financial component. So that's unfortunate. If we don't have that, we'll have to figure out where to do it so that these individuals also have the same opportunity for fairness in these cases.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. For anyone listening that maybe just doesn't have those means, a low asset marital estate, maybe has a small house, what are some of the resources for them where they're not going to go break the bank, but still find justice in their divorce?
Unfortunately, there isn't really something out there. We have Indiana Legal Services, but the issue, like it's always been, is that you have to have such a low threshold.
Yeah, it's like poverty line.
It is
Low.
It is and so you maybe have someone that's making $35,000 a year and they have 3 kids, then they don't qualify. And I don't know their breakdown. But that's just an example. But there's you've got. I know that there's mediators out there who are trying to do more of a modest means scale.
Yeah.
They're, I think, got tired of litigating and wanted to kind of not retire, but do some other things. And so if the folks are pro se, they can reach out, representing themselves. They can reach out to maybe that someone does a modest means mediation and help them do that way. But that's if you're going to agree, right? So like if you're in a really nasty battle with somebody and you don't have the money, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because the judges, you're not going to know how to present evidence. You're not going to know the rules, the procedure. You're trying to. Everyone's always trying to get hearsay in, and then your hearings are longer than they should be. So it frustrates the judges and the court. So you have a lot of people who are pro se because they just can't afford. They can't afford the process. Or they get enough money to hire the lawyer, but that's it. After their retainer, they can't continue in this litigation.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So it's very unfortunate.
So let's talk a little bit about your practice. You own your own practice, right?
That's correct.
Yes. So you are not only a practicing lawyer, but you're an entrepreneur too.
That's right. And they did not teach us how to run a business in law school. No. So we had to figure that out. And some people have better marketing sense than others. I like to think that we do a good job. Mm-hmm. So I went on, I got recruited out of law school. So my 3rd year, I already knew I had a job, which was great. And I wasn't the stellar student. I mean, it wasn't because I was law review and all these wonderful things it was just because I did the trial practice and I was in a courtroom. And this individual is part.
You're a litigator.
I'm a litigator. And so he's just, well, I haven't seen you here before. How long have you been practicing? I'm like, I'm a student. I'm a certified legal intern. He's like, okay, we're gonna need to talk. And that's how I got my job. And so I worked with them. They are defunct now.
Okay.
Yes. So it's an attorney that we all know in family law, and he was wonderful. Okay. And so I worked for that firm that's no longer together, and for a couple of years, and then someone had said something like rainmaker. I had to go look that up. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me just see if I can just do this on my own. And I did. So in 2008, I decided to go on my own. And with my paralegal, who is my senior paralegal now, and she's also my office administrator. When we've been together 18 years, which that is not the norm for you to have someone with you for that long.
Yeah.
And now we've become family, which is very nice. And my daughter calls them, Tío and Tía in Spanish, my aunt and uncle. So we're very family oriented at our firm. And then in 11 years ago, I decided I didn't want to pay someone else's mortgage. So I bought a building on 35th and Meridian, right across the street from Shortridge High School. So I felt good about that. I can't wait to pay that off.
Mm-hmm.
Soon.
And you've been there ever since.
Yep. Yeah, I've been. It's interesting to be in the community. There's a lot of issues in 38th and Meridian area. We do have a pretty high homeless issue, and so our community is struggling. But I do appreciate where I'm at. I know there's a lot of love that's going into that area Crown Hill area. And obviously, we had the wonderful institution of Shortridge High School. Mr. Shortridge made an impact in the Indianapolis community in Indiana. He was an abolitionist. He fought for the rights of African Americans to go to school. So it's a great history. We always think of Indiana as kind of like the home of the KKK, but there's also such a rich and wonderful history of folks that really fought and believed in diversity. I hope that we can get there again.
Yeah.
Since I feel like our state is struggling a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But we do have wonderful history. And so I'm really proud to be in that location. In my house, the building I own was built in 1911. And it was at one point in time, refugee place for I think it was for Vietnamese folks and then Asian folks from different countries that were coming in to Indianapolis. I haven't been able to I need to talk to the Historical Society. I haven't been able to really get a lot more information, but I think that's why I like the house, because it has this history of diversity.
Yeah.
And then we try always to continue to run a diverse practice.
My family immigrated here from Cuba after Fidel Castro took over, and this government took everything from my family, and that attracted me to be a lawyer. Insurance companies can be like bullies, and they have a lot of resources behind them. Give us a call here at Hearst Limontes. We are protective of our clients because our clients matter and you matter. At Hearst Limontes, we're a firm that believes in people. We don't just talk about justice or fairness, we live it. The Indiana Fever are trailblazers. They inspire not only in how they play, but how they lead in our Indiana community. Being a father changes everything. Supporting the Fever is one way that I show my kids what it means to believe in fairness, to believe in respect and possibility. At Hearst Limontes, we believe in those same things. The Fever stand for resilience, grit, determination, and heart. They aren't just a basketball team. They're a symbol of what's possible when you refuse to give up. Their impact ripples far beyond the court, and you can see it in the energy, pride, and hope that they create in our city. Whether you're a young girl dreaming of playing in the WNBA or a kid in a small town dreaming of becoming a lawyer, you belong. This partnership is proof of that. At Hearst Limontes, we believe in standing up for those people that are overlooked. From court to court, Hearst Limontes is your winning team. So when you first started, did you just do family law?
When I started, I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. And family law, they needed someone to do family law, so I started doing it. And then it just seemed like, well, this makes sense. Why? This isn't hard. Like, you just have to help people through these conflicts. And like, people, when they would ask me questions, I'm like, how do they not know that? And how they're going to pay me money to talk about these things? I just felt like it was really obvious.
Yeah.
So family law came really easy to me. And I liked how you had control of how you can resolve the problem, negotiate, and figure it out. Not that I didn't dislike criminal law, but I had to be honest with myself. When I got pregnant with my daughter, one of my clients towards the end was intoxicated at his daughter's birthday party and fondled a bunch of the girls. And his excuse was, don't they know I was drunk? And then I realized, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
I can't. I felt like I was almost more prosecutorial friendly, and I knew that was not fair for that individual, and that individual needed to have a different attorney. And so that was the end. I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to do my job the way it needed to be done because of how I personally felt. Yeah. And then that's when you got to get out because they're going to commit malpractice. And I knew that story for me was no.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because he just wanted to make excuses and not understand. And so that was a complete breakdown from absolutely. So that was the end of criminal practice for me.
Yeah.
It was quite it was sad because I had really fought my family and argued to them why individuals had a constitutional right for legal representation and so I really had to defend why I wanted to do that, and then to step away was a little hard, but the right thing for me to do for sure.
That's so crazy. That totally resonates with me. That's why I quit doing criminal defense. I was a public defender and I was moving my way up, and I was getting ready to go to major felony, like gonna apply for the next opening. And I thought to myself, let me work on some major felony cases. And I worked on a child molest case.
And that's it.
And I immediately, as soon as I talked to the client, I was like, I can't be a good lawyer for this guy.
Right.
I'm going to do a shitty job because I think he's a piece of shit. And
yeah. It's rough. And that's a good thing that and get out, because
I was 20-something years old. I was like, frankly, I was surprised that I had the self-awareness.
Right.
To
keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then earlier in my career, I started sitting pro tem a lot in child support court. And I knew right away.
Judge Turzo.
Yeah.
She was the sweetest person
Absolutely.
putting someone in jail. She was like, well, I think I'm going to have to put you in jail right now.
Yeah.
She was so sweet.
I don't think I had that. Yes. Yeah. And mine was, I remember one time I said, I don't feel like you're doing everything you need to be doing. This guy hadn't paid, and very rarely. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, I just don't think you're trying to find a job or hold a job. And he's like, you mean like fast food, like McDonald's? And I was like, yeah. It's like, well, I was hoping it wouldn't come to that. And I went, okay. Well, I'm sorry it has come to this. We're doing a $3,500 purge bond, and this deputy right here is going to put some handcuffs on you, and you're going to sit here for a minute, and you're going to jail. But of course, guess who was out in the hallway? A grandma or girlfriend to pay it. So the deputies would always say, don't get upset when you put someone in jail, because there's always someone there to give them the money. And I was like, okay. So then I didn't feel bad about that anymore. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah. We had to go down there as public defenders. You had to do a shift down there. You had to go do a shift in traffic court too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. And that was the first thing they said to me. They said, don't worry about it. Your client's probably not going to go to jail. Someone's going to pay for it.
Yep. Someone's always there. And that's infuriating, because, that other parent, that parent there is struggling to provide for that child. And then that parent's going to get in trouble if they interfere with parenting time. But then you've got someone that's not even helping out and taking care of their responsibilities. So it was very frustrating. And I also sat pro tem in traffic court in the very beginning when Jose Salinas was there in traffic court before he went to criminal court, major, It used to be 14. I don't know what it's now, because I don't do.
It was 13
for
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was always interesting. Very, very hard when you knew that someone probably got pulled over for, and I remember having to navigate those waters and just say, I'm really sorry that you feel like you got pulled over for X, Y reason. And look at the officer, and I'm like, but you still have this ticket. It seems to be valid, but let's all.
We could say it. They got pulled over because of the color of their skin.
Absolutely.
And we saw it all the time. And, when I was with Jason doing some criminal stuff, did a lot of traffic stuff, it happened all the time. It happened in Carmel City Court. We were there all the time in Carmel.
I had to stop going to Carmel City.
What a beautiful courtroom, too.
Yeah. It was very, very poor experience as someone who was representing Latino clients, and to the tune of a lot of, I know your client can understand me. I know, why do we need an interpreter? They've been here for 20 years. They should know English. I'm like, what? Yeah. Okay, but alrighty. So it was just like the more reasons why I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was just let me just deal with. And I thought we were safe for a while on family law until recently, in the last 7 or 8 months. Where now you're seeing people try to use the other party's immigration status to manipulate custody disputes and property allocation.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, you're going to give me this construction company, or I'm going to call ICE. It's like, okay, great. I'm like, but you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like, do you care about what happens to that child? What if that gets deported? Do you even care about them? It's like, how do you, it's just, we're seeing things that years ago I would say, don't worry about it. They have better things to do than come down. Now I'm like, I don't know.
We don't know.
I have no idea. If she's saying she's going to do this, we might need to consider, what you want to do, at least with your eyes open. These are the things that could happen. Absolutely, someone could show up at the hearing. So it's just that has become really hard. I mean, I just did a consultation this morning. This woman wants to get divorced. She's undocumented, and she has a 1-month-old, and we probably are not going to move forward because that's the threat.
Yeah.
You do this, I'm going to do this.
I'm going to do this.
And I hate to have to say, do you think you could tough it out and just see if something changes and maybe, but so I'm giving advice and hearing stories that we had not experienced before.
And you didn't expect to experience them this far down in your career too. That's
no
stuff.
Right. Well, and because, the message was we were going, their government was going to go towards felons and gang members and not the lady who's making tamales outside of Home Depot.
Yeah.
Right. Or the mom that's, just trying to get by, would take care of her kids and left an abusive husband in Nicaragua or whatever it was. There's just so much, there's a lot of sex trafficking going on.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a laundry list. So I never thought we were going to be going after families and hardworking people of our community that bring so much to the state of Indiana. I don't, and I'm not sure the folks that voted for that thought that this would happen too. And there are communities. I've been in front of 2 judges recently that really surprised me in predominantly Republican white counties where I had to get a guardianship. And you start to get nervous now when you go to court. And I got a guardianship. My client's crying. And this judge said, I'm very sorry for what's going on. I hope that this helps bring some peace to your family during these hard times.
Huh.
Could not believe it.
Wow.
Could not. And then I had another one in Southern Indiana where she said, we don't do a lot of these. I want to make sure this is all right.
Yeah.
And I do want some changes to this order. And I was like, absolutely. She was working with me. And I know that these were folks that are across the aisle from me. And so I was very happy to see that.
Yeah.
Because there's anticipation that, things will change. I do a lot in the LGBTQ plus community. And that's another part of my, not to be Debbie Downer, but that's another part of my client base that's suffering. Where we do a lot of marker changes, gender marker changes and name changes. And then we have orders. And now the governor's telling the Department of Health not to do the gender marker changes. And so I have a court order, but then I've got this problem. And those are individuals that need to move on with their life. And they would like to travel and have their documents in order and represent who they represent as.
Yeah.
And, that's been also a struggle. What's going to happen with same-sex marriage. I've got a lot of same-sex parents who are married who are still doing second parent adoptions because of their fear that they will get rid of marriage equality. And so there's just every day we're dealing with some member of our community, our community as a whole, who's in a really bad position right now.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about community because Emmanuel knows I'm obsessed with merch. I've got a ton of merch. You introduced me to the merch game. Your merch game has always been strong. He's got a backpack over there, right? Mm-hmm. Like a cooler bag.
Yes.
And where I remember seeing the best of your merch is at Fiesta.
Yes.
Which, talking about sad stuff, we're not doing it this year.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
Right. And I wish they hadn't canceled, but I understand.
Yeah, I understand why.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I was telling Emmanuel, I was like, the food, people don't even know what they're missing out on.
Yeah.
Like, you guys just canceled one of the best food events.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to sit on the board.
Yeah.
And my mom was one of the first people that helped put Fiesta together a million years ago when it was like 4 different organizations, El Puente and some others. And they had Golden Rule was one of their very first sponsors. I mean, just putting it together. So I remember that when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And then, she used to drive from Bloomington to come here to the Hispano Center.
Yep.
That's what it was called back there with the Medina family. Monica Medina was involved there. Great. That family is just amazing. They're also involved with the Indiana Historical Society.
Yeah.
So they're just doing anyway. That is such a wonderful event, and to not have it after all of these years, all these decades, and it was a cultural event. I mean, outside of the food, you had dance, we had different, like the consulate's office, and you had all these different
Outfits, the regional costumes, and oh my God, it was
It
amazing.
was really, really great. A really good time. I actually went to Northwest Indiana last weekend to attend some of these festivals. Yeah, Whiting had a beautiful empanada festival. I think it's their fourth or fifth one, and it was amazing. Very well attended. Of course, you get all the Chicago people that are coming in, but they've kept all their events, and I wish we would have too. But hopefully next year we'll be back on schedule.
There.
Yeah, when you're talking about, yeah, absolutely. When you're talking about organizations, we do have, our group of folks that are trying to do a lot in our community. But going back to the swag, though, the merch, you're right. I that has always been our thing.
Yeah.
And we've always had a good time in the office and getting that ready and handing that out. We always like when the kids are happy and folks have their bags. And then if we go to conferences, we always have tissues because the rooms are always so cold. And I mean, you name it, we got it. And it's fun, and people get excited about getting anything, especially for free.
Fiesta, I don't know about you guys. I'm assuming you've been doing it for so long. I'm assuming it works because it works for us.
Right.
We not only do we have people that, have either signed up soon after or called us or, said we found you at Fiesta, but more importantly, especially in the Hispanic community, it's like grassroots level advertising and marketing, which is, in my opinion, the most effective.
For me, absolutely. For me, I understood very early on that I was the product, right? I'm the face, I'm the product. I need to be out there. It's different than sending staff, which I'm so glad when they do and come, but they want to see you. They want to talk to you too. Of course, you get tired after a long 8-hour shift, but you come in and out, right? So we did in the beginning find that it was good because it was, people will recognize you. They knew you were in the community, but it was more immigration questions based. Since I don't do that, what has been really profitable for us is, again, going back to the LGBT plus community, we would always do Pride. And then Pride got so big because we were one of the we were out there and back in the day. And it got so big that I wasn't feeling I was getting the connection with the community. So we are doing more of the smaller Prides. So we did Carmel Pride, and then there's Zionsville Pride and a Westfield Pride, and then Tippecanoe County has one. So there's so those are smaller, and you have those conversations where and the other ones are just so loud and so big. I mean, we still support them, but we just don't give them as much attention as we do the smaller ones. We still come out, do a booth, give away the swag, and I'm enjoying that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, community work, working on different boards as a president of the Indiana Latino Expo, and I've been on La Plaza, and then I was on ACLU for my term. I do believe in term limits. So when my term is done, it's time to go. I think that's always good to have good energy and have different people involved. I think you get stagnant if it's the same old people. Yes. I am looking at a new board because I gave myself a break after 20 years of being an unbelievable amount of boards. Took a little bit of a break. Also, my family's involved in politics, so that consumes a lot of our time.
Yeah.
I can't sit on the bench much longer. So I'm going to be helping some candidates, especially in this election coming up. And then there's a little organization that I think is going to probably need some help because I think they're going to get their funding cut. Who do a lot of work in the migrant community here locally. So I have a meeting with them next week about seeing how we can help.
Yeah.
And then I did meet with a state rep yesterday and see how we can help because the fight is real. I mean, we're living in some pretty hard times for members of our community. So I can complain all day or get my boots on the ground and get to work. So you'll see me out there and probably bother you for some help. So
always willing to help.
I appreciate it. I'll have to do some fundraising and get some information out to people so that we're making sure we're taking care and protecting everybody in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I heard that Fiesta was canceled, I was like, I went home, I told my wife, and it's like I was on the verge of tears. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is
crazy. People are scared to go have fun.
Yeah, people are, and I have I know people who are U.S. citizens that are afraid because they have fake accents.
Yeah.
And they obviously present as Hispanic. And they're afraid to be out driving or being anywhere, even though they know that they're perfectly legal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fear. We have crazy Karens yelling at people at Home Depot to stop talking Spanish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm sorry you're not bilingual.
Yeah.
Sorry you don't understand what we're saying. But,
Right.
we used to have this thought that America was great because, or I should say North America or U.S. Was great because of all the diversity that we have.
Mhm.
And then now you're shunning people because they
Yeah.
speak a different language. So we're really in some unbelievable times.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think I would see it like this.
Yeah. And I think it's just the eternal optimist in me. Like, I just didn't think that it would be. But, Emmanuel knows this. So we do civil rights work here. And we had a case that was on the news, and I made some commentary to the news. And one of the lawyers here, who's Caucasian guy from Southern Indiana, he was on there with me, and we had some commentary about IMPD. And the next day, I get an email from someone. Yeah. Essentially saying horrible racist things about my client, and then says to me, maybe you should stop chasing ambulances and worry more about not getting deported back to Cuba where you belong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And I was just like, okay, well, first of all, I was born in Florida.
Yeah.
So I am a Floridian. Unfortunately, Florida is what it is, but it is part of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never even been to Cuba, although I'd love to go.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
But, me of all people, like I pass as a white guy from Indiana
Right.
most of the time. But never, not never, but it's rare, and it's only during times like this that I feel that kind of pressure.
Right.
It's sad.
It is. I mean, so, I was born in San Juan in Puerto Rico. And so my daughter is like, well, what if right?
Yep.
What if, right? And then, so do you get grandfathered in, or how does that work? Are you no longer a U.S. citizen? I mean, how does that happen? And so it's just, I don't want my 14-year-old to have this stress. I mean, you're in high school now. We play volleyball every day. That's your stress, is get your homework done, and just get up in the morning and do your job. I don't need you to be worrying about our immigration status.
Right.
So it's very disappointing. And we have her dad's family is third generation Mexican American. So we're very proud of that. My daughter just bought a poncho when we went to one of those festivals up north that says Mexican, because she's Mexican, Puerto Rican. She's also Colombian. And she's a blonde, so she represents Irish, because we all had, a lot of us have Irish descendants, and I have Irish on both sides, or my daughter does on both sides. So my mother's from Ireland, and then her dad's family on his mother's side is also from Ireland, from Munster, Ireland. So we did ended up the Irish just took over, because I never thought I was going to have this little blonde girl.
Yeah.
So I was like, so she also doesn't. She would also pass, right?
Yeah.
And then until there's someone around her that's speaking Spanish. And then she goes, "Yo entiendo todo lo que me estás diciendo." She's like, "I understand everything you're saying," because she's bilingual. I sent her to the International School of Indiana, and so she speaks and writes in Spanish, and no one would ever expect it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, and she's proud of that too. And I hope that she won't feel like she can't speak Spanish in public. I hope that doesn't happen to her. I hope that she can be proud of her ethnicity and that she's bilingual.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope so too, for her sake, especially here in Indiana,
I've always seen it as an asset. I've never seen it as something to be embarrassed of, but now we have to be a different life for a little bit, I think.
Just for a little bit.
I'm hoping so. It does fly by.
It does.
We just need to be strong and just continue to do our good work, be involved in our communities, help as much as we can. And then just know that, as long as you've done everything you can, then, try to get a good night's sleep and do it over again the next day.
Yeah, I love that. So let's look forward.
Absolutely.
What is on the horizon for you, for Vanessa?
I want to, it's hard to say it out loud. I do want to help and get and do some campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
I've been asked to run for office several times.
That's what I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
Yeah.
My daughter has 4 more years of school. I would not do that to her. Her dad is a former state representative.
Yeah.
We ran a statewide campaign as Democrats in a Republican state. We were unsuccessful, but we had great numbers. We did a great campaign. It was a lot of work, but we were very proud of the work that we put into it.
Yeah.
I know that would not be appropriate to do that because of my daughter, and she needs attention, and that's my number one job. I'm not going to say I'll never do it. Right now it's also very unsafe, as we've seen these state representatives that were murdered in Minnesota.
Right.
My nephew's a state senator, and you get nervous. It hits you at home.
Yeah.
So I want to just work behind the scenes and help people, work on these campaigns, so that we can be a voice for folks that don't have a voice, and then get back on a board that feels good, that's helpful. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I think that's probably enough for now.
Yeah. And obviously you guys are still doing lots of different family law cases.
We are. I wanted to bring in someone to help on appeals.
Yeah.
I don't personally do that. So I'm always looking to see if I find an attorney that likes to do that work and maybe add some appellate work to the practice.
Okay.
But as far as we'll stay with family law. We added prenups to our practice in the last year, postnups. Those are pretty straightforward. We do very basic wills. Like I farm all that out, anything complicated. But I think as far as the firm growing, I think the only thing I would want to add is probably maybe some appellate work. But someone else can do the writing. I'm the court baby. I like to be in the court, so someone else can do the writing.
So as a female entrepreneur and a lawyer, if you could give a piece of advice to a young lawyer thinking about starting their own practice, what would you say to them?
You definitely have confidence in yourself. I didn't have a plan B. My plan A was I'm going to be successful. And that's it. And I always share this story. So Laura and I were at Barcelona Tapas when it used to be open. And we had a meeting back in 2007. And we had to figure out how much we needed on a piece of paper to survive, to not live in our parents' basement, which their parents had a very nice house. So I wasn't too worried about it. But we had a number, right? It just $8,000 a month, what we needed.
Yeah.
And now I need close to $100,000 a month. And so it just, I'm believe in yourself, have confidence, look for mentors. I didn't really have that. I kind of just did it on my own and I winged it. But I had a teammate, right? So I had a paralegal who had been a paralegal for a while, and she had good business sense. And so I had, even though we couldn't partner, I did have that support. So I think if you're going to go on your own, is if you're in family law or in an area, have a good, strong paralegal with you. It is worth every dime. Get an SBA loan so you can pay him or her, because that's the person that's going to keep your practice flowing. You cannot do everything yourself. Don't be cheap. You pay people good, and you cannot have you answering the phones and trying to go get that loan so that you can take care of yourself and your clients.
Exactly.
And ask questions and be really involved in your community. So I was involved with the Indy Bar and sat on a board, the foundation board, and get to know people, go to events. You are the product, like I said earlier. You have to be out there, but get a loan so you can pay someone, get a good paralegal to work with you, have confidence in yourself, network. And the more people you know, the more they'll refer things to you. And then make sure that you're doing a good job, because if you hurt yourself early in your career, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to build a successful practice if you're doing bad legal work.
Right. Don't feel like it's take everything that walks through the door. Be picky and be smart. And all of that should really be in a class, but it's hard. It's really hard.
We should call Karen Bravo.
Yeah.
And ask her. That would be great. That would be an amazing class.
It is. There's so many things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful also with malpractice. Got to have a good relationship with your malpractice carrier. Run things by. Ask questions. Before John Trimble passed away recently, which we were so sad to see him go, he was always available for a phone call. Always. James Bell. Always. All those folks are happy to answer anything. So reach out to people. before you make a mistake.
Yeah.
I have a funny feeling about this. And I remember Judge Miller would say, if you got a feeling about it, trust it, follow it, and so just ask questions and your peers will be there to help.
Yeah. That's awesome. So any of our listeners, if they want to connect with you, how can they do that?
So our phone number is 317-634-9484. Best way is email, to be honest. So my direct email is vlopez@VanessaLopezLaw.com. You can find us on the web. We have a wonderful webpage. We hired a group, a woman-owned web designer out of Crown Point, Indiana. And so check it out. And we have 9 on our team. So we have 3 attorneys and 6 paralegals / legal assistants. And out of all of us, 4 of us speak Spanish out of the 9. So we're always making sure that we have plenty of people for folks to talk to in their own native tongue if they're Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the ability to communicate, for the lawyer to communicate directly with with the client in their language is key.
Especially when you're dealing with legal terms, it's already confusing.
Yeah.
So and then you try to translate it, and that sometimes it gets lost, and it's not exactly what I wanted, and I have to unfortunately sometimes correct in the courtroom.
Oh yeah.
Or in a deposition. I'm like, that's not what my client said. We could take 2.
Didn't we do? There was a CLE on this, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and it's so funny. There was a panel of Spanish-speaking lawyers up there, and every one of them was like, "Oh, I've had this correct in a deposition before."
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I had someone start to just explain my question. I'm like, oh no, if I say hi, you say hola. I say we're done, se acabó. There's no more. You don't get to interpret like what I'm trying to say. So I was very surprised that happened.
Yes.
So that person was not asked to be an interpreter again.
There's some. So we work with a lot of interpreters. There's some older interpreters that have been around a while.
Yes.
That just like to paraphrase a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
it's a hard job.
It is.
I get it.
It is. I get it. And I mean, frankly, now with AI, that's probably going to be a dead job eventually. I mean,
I want that human being there. And I have some favorites that I get to work with who did a really good job.
Yeah.
And so I hope to see them still in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Instead of some computer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. It's nice to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining us for another episode of Circle City Conversations. A big, big thank you to our guest, attorney Vanessa Lopez, for sharing her story, her insights, and her commitment to serving others through the practice of law. And remember, if you want to tune in for any additional episodes, please subscribe online.